Welcome back to Let the Chips Fly podcast. And in this episode, we talk about the 2026 August newsletter called Chips from the Charlotte Woodcarvers.
Right.
And I want you to just imagine for a second that you have exactly 146 days to manually carve a block of hardwood, right? And you're using techniques that date back to the 1800s.
Classic hand tools.
Exactly.
Bye.
But to design the intricate pattern you're going to carve, you are using a cutting-edge artificial intelligence neural network.
Which is such a wild contrast.
It really is. That completely unexpected intersection of deep analog patience and modern technology is exactly what we are exploring today.
Yeah, we've got volume 44, issue 8 of the club's newsletter right in front of us.
And the mission for our time together is to figure out how a hyper-local traditional craft community is managing to thrive so vibrantly in the year 2026.
Because they really are.
They're doing something brilliant. And there's a massive lesson in here for you about what a real, functioning, supportive community looks like in the modern world.
It is a remarkable document to study. It really is. Because, when you glance at a local club newsletter, you might expect, a dry calendar of events.
Yeah, maybe some boring financial updates.
Right, exactly. But reading through these pages, you actually uncover a highly sophisticated blueprint for human connection.
Oh, absolutely.
It becomes clear very quickly that the art of wood carving is almost secondary to the infrastructure of the community itself.
That is the perfect place to start. Because before we can even touch on the technical side of the chisels and the wood, we have to look at the people holding those tools.
The foundation of it all.
Right. And the newsletter immediately highlights that this club isn't just a group of hobbyists who happen to, rent the same room once a week. They function like a family.
You definitely see that right out of the gate in the opening letter from the club president, Steve Solitano.
Yeah. He gives a recap of their summer social, which pulled in about 50 attendees.
That's a great turnout for a local club.
It is. And naturally, because it's a club gathering in North Carolina, there is a major emphasis on the food.
Of course there is.
He specifically carves out space in his letter to give a massive shout-out to a member named Bill Dominic just for picking up the fried and baked chicken.
Which is funny, right? Acknowledging the person who brought the chicken seems like a throwaway line. But it strategically sets a tone of gratitude from the very first page.
Yeah, it really does.
It signals to the membership that logistical support is valued just as highly as artistic output.
You see that value system play out even more clearly in the awards they handed out at that same summer social, too. Steve mentions he had the honor of presenting the new Carver Recognition Award to a guy named Bennie Montgomery.
Right, Bennie.
Now, Bennie has been an active member for a couple of years, but the reasons he won this award are incredibly telling. They didn't hand him a plaque because he carved the most intricate eagle or the smoothest bowl.
Not at all.
The newsletter details that Bennie volunteered at a bunch of external club events out in Waxhaw, Huntersville, and at a local Rockwood woodworking store.
He was putting in the hours.
Yeah, and he even stepped up and taught a whistle carving class for members on a Saturday. But the detail that really caught my eye, the president specifically commends Bennie because he took the time to fix all of the broken clips on the folding tables they use for their Tuesday carving sessions.
Okay, think about the physical reality of carving wood for a second. You are applying significant manual force to a sharp steel blade, pushing it through a dense, fibrous material.
You can't have things sliding around.
Exactly. You need a completely stable surface. If a folding table wobbles or collapses because of a broken clip, a knife slips.
Oh, man.
A piece of art is ruined, or worse, someone ends up in the emergency room with a severed tendon.
Jeez, yeah, that's a good point.
By fixing those clips, Bennie isn't just doing a janitorial chore. He is maintaining the physical safety and the functional foundation of the entire space.
Okay, let's unpack this. Because his prize for all this hard work is fascinating. It wasn't a shiny trophy or a certificate. It was an Amazon gift card and a literal block of basswood.
A block of wood?
Right, to an outsider. Handing someone a block of wood as a prize sounds like you forgot to buy a real gift.
Like a last-minute scramble.
Yeah. But in this context, it's like handing a master painter a perfectly stretched, premium blank canvas. But it does make you wonder, does focusing so heavily on community chores, like getting down on your hands and knees to fix folding tables actually makes someone a better artist.
What's fascinating here is that it absolutely does, just not in the mechanical sense of making their hands more skilled.
Right.
Crafting in total isolation, sitting alone in your garage, is a hobby. But crafting in a community is a tradition.
Wow, yeah.
When Bennie is fixing those tables or teaching a beginner how to make a simple wooden whistle, he is building the very ecosystem that allows the art form to survive.
That's a great way to put it.
And basswood, by the way, is the gold standard for this type of carving. It has a very tight, straight grain. It's soft enough to carve by hand, and it doesn't have resin that gums up the tools.
So it really is the premium canvas.
Exactly. By handing Bennie that premium material, they are giving him the ultimate enabler of creativity. He maintains the community, and the community literally hands him the raw material to fuel his own artistic drive.
You really see that inspiration pool at work when they feature other members in the newsletter, too. There's a fantastic Carver profile in this issue focusing on Tracy Ciatkoski.
Oh, her story's great.
Yeah. She talks about moving from the suburban sprawl of South Florida to rural North Carolina. Back in 2018, it was a massive culture shock. But she embraced the nature around her.
Yeah.
And her origin story for carving came from rummaging through her attic and finding her dad's old Boy Scout Indian head neckerchief slide.
A piece of carved wood can sit in an attic for 50 years and still carry the exact intention and the physical tool marks of the person who shaped it.
Yeah.
It is a highly durable form of memory.
So she finds this Charlotte Club, buys the absolute basics, a beginner's kit with a knife, some protective gloves, basswood, and a pattern for a comfort bird, and she's off.
And she finds her own style pretty quickly.
Right. Over the years, guided by tips from the club, she found her specific niche. She loves carving what she calls anthropomorphic animals.
Animals doing human things.
Yeah, exactly, like a dachshund wearing a sweater. She explicitly states her goal is just to trigger an emotion and make people smile when they see it.
Tracy's story is the direct result of Bennie's table fixing, if you think about it.
Oh, how so?
If that club wasn't welcoming, if they didn't have the functional infrastructure and the collective patience to guide a newcomer who just unboxed her very first knife, Tracy might never have developed those skills.
Oh, I see.
The community provides the soil, and Tracy's anthropomorphic carvings are the fruit.
That vibrant community spirit naturally spills over into how they plan their calendar too, and how they interact with the broader public. It's a collective rhythm. And the newsletter editor, Neil McGuire, casually drops a terrifying countdown into that rhythm.
Oh yeah, the Christmas countdown.
He notes that there are only 146 carving days left until Christmas.
A looming, highly specific deadline for anyone attempting to make handcrafted gifts.
It really is.
Yeah.
To get people moving, he provides these detailed patterns for Christmas ornaments. He starts with an easy, full-scale chip carving pattern. He says you just apply it to a 3/8-inch piece of basswood and go.
Nice and simple.
But then he scales the difficulty way up. He shows a more challenging design with cut-through triangles that go all the way through the wood. And then he highlights a really intricate old-world chip style, where the dots are incredibly close to the vertex.
We should probably clarify what chip carving actually entails, because it is quite different from just whittling a stick on a porch.
Oh, definitely.
Chip carving relies on using a very short-bladed knife to remove precise geometric shapes, usually small triangles, from a flat surface of wood.
Right.
The vertex, Neil mentions, is the deepest point where the angled cuts meet at the bottom of the wood. If your blade control is off by even a millimeter, the cuts don't intersect cleanly, the little pyramid of wood won't pop out, and you end up tearing the grain.
Right.
Offering a pattern where the design elements are packed closely to that vertex requires immense precision. It's a brilliant pedagogical approach by the editor, really.
What do you mean?
Well, you offer an easy entry point for the beginner, but you also provide a high technical ceiling for the veterans who want to test their blade control.
That makes a lot of sense. And, you don't want to use a pattern at all. The newsletter highlights that Johnny Mayo recently taught a class on carving a Christmas tree that has a human face embedded in it.
No pattern for that one.
Right, no pattern provided. You just cut out a basic tree shape, add branches, a trunk, and figure out the face on your own.
That takes some confidence.
For sure. But the holiday prep isn't even the most demanding marathon they're running. They talk extensively about the upcoming Matthews Alive Festival. It's a huge event happening September 4th through the 7th at the local community center.
Yeah, a massive local festival.
And they put out this massive call to arms for the club members. They need to carve approximately 500 small wooden owls to give away to kids who visit their booth. 500.
That is a staggering number.
They are urging members to drop by a meeting just to pick up packages of pre-cut wooden blanks, they call them owl sticks, just to help out.
Yeah, it's a huge undertaking.
But wait, hold on a second. 500 hand-carved owls for a single weekend festival. That sounds like a sweatshop level of manual labor, doesn't it? Why would a group of master artisans act like a toy factory, giving away their hard work completely for free to a bunch of passing kids?
If we connect this to the bigger picture, it reveals a brilliant long-term survival strategy for the craft.
Okay, I'm listening.
Yes, producing 500 hand-carved owls is a staggering amount of unpaid labor. But they are not merely handing out free souvenirs. They are actively seeding the next generation.
Oh, like Tracy and the Boy Scout slide.
Precisely. Consider Tracy finding her dad's neckerchief slide in the attic. That single carved object held so much tactile power that it altered the trajectory of her hobbies years later.
Wow, yeah.
When a member of this club hands a hand-carved wooden owl to a 7-year-old child at the Matthews Alive Festival, they are handing them a physical manifestation of time and care.
That is profound.
That owl will likely sit on a dresser for 20 years. It might be the exact spark that creates the next master carver in the year 2046. They are trading their current labor for the future survival of their art form.
Wow. When you frame it like that, sitting down for a few hours to whittle an owl stick is basically planting a tree you might never sit under.
That's an investment.
And they clearly celebrate excellence within their current ranks, too. At that summer social, they handed out a People's Choice Award where everyone got a raffle ticket to vote for their favorite piece on display, and a carver named Jay Haynes won with this incredibly detailed carved fish.
Beautiful work.
Yeah, they're constantly looking forward, building momentum. They even announced the theme for their massive 44th showcase of wood carvings happening in April 2027. The theme is Caught in the Etsy.
Capturing kinetics in a static medium is one of the hardest challenges in sculpture.
It sounds impossible.
It's incredibly tough. You are taking a rigid, inflexible block of wood and trying to force it to convey motion and narrative. It is a brilliant prompt that forces the carver to think deeply about anatomy, gravity, and tension before they ever make the first cut.
To keep a legacy craft like this alive, to keep putting on these huge showcases and churning out hundreds of owls, you might assume a group like this completely rejects modern technology.
That would be the stereotype, yeah.
Right. You'd think they're all analog purists, living by candlelight in the 1800s. But that brings us to the most surprising part of this entire newsletter. They're embracing the future head-on.
They really are.
There's a brand new column in this issue written by Mike Lennon titled The Digital Knife, Your AI Workshop Assistant.
The juxtaposition is just striking. You're reading a newsletter focused on the botanical properties of basswood and the sharpening angles of steel chisels, and suddenly you are pivoting to a discussion on artificial intelligence and neural networks.
And Mike lays it out so practically. He explicitly positions AI, not as a replacement for the carver, but as a digital helper. He literally writes, AI is a helper, not an artist.
Setting a clear boundary.
Exactly.
Yeah.
They're using it heavily for the administrative and preparatory sides of the craft. He talks about using AI for brainstorming designs, drafting templates, and even synthesizing research from multiple web articles into a single, easy-to-read cheat sheet about the characteristics of different woods.
That's just smart time management.
But the most technical part is how they use it to manipulate photos into clean, reusable wood carving patterns.
Which is huge because translating a two-dimensional photograph into a carving pattern is notoriously difficult.
Yeah, how does that even work?
Well, a photograph is full of complex shadows, infinite color gradients, and deep textures. A knife cannot carve a gradient.
Right, you either cut or you don't.
Exactly. A knife needs a definitive line. It needs to know where a surface stops and where a new depth begins. What the AI is doing is taking that complex photograph and simplifying it into topographical vector-like zones.
Like a map.
Yes. It flattens the image into distinct, high-contrast shapes, essentially creating a topographical map that tells the carver exactly where to execute a stop cut and where to remove material.
Here's where it gets really interesting. To me, this dynamic sounds exactly like the kitchen of a Michelin star restaurant.
Oh, how so?
Well, you have an incredibly advanced, highly capable sous chef, the AI, who chops all the onions, preps the stock, and organizes the workstation right.
Ah, I see where you're going with this.
It handles all the tedious, time-consuming prep work, which allows the head chef, the human carver, to step in and focus entirely on the execution, the texture, and the actual soul of the dish.
That's a great analogy.
Mike Lennon's core argument is that AI saves time, on the prep work so the carvers can spend more of their finite time actually putting steel to wood. But looking at the broader woodworking world, do you think purists will reject this integration? Or is this just the natural evolution of how humans utilize tools?
This raises an important question about how we define authenticity in art, and history gives us a very clear answer here.
Which is?
There's always resistance to the new tool because people confuse the struggle of the medium with the value of the art.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, when ancient craftsmen moved from stone tools to iron chisels, there were undoubtedly purists who felt the iron was a shortcut that ruined the purity of the work.
Wow. Yeah, I bet.
Fast forward to the modern era, and you had hand tool purists who scoffed at the introduction of the electric bandsaw or the motorized Dremel tool.
Sure.
But an electric bandsaw doesn't design the art. It simply removes the physical friction of cutting a rough exterior shape. What Mike Lennon is proposing with the digital knife is that AI is simply the next iteration of the bandsaw, but it is a tool for the mind rather than the hand.
A tool for the mind. I like that.
It removes the mental friction of starting a project. You know, staring at a blank block of wood can be paralyzing.
Oh, the blank canvas effect.
Exactly. If the AI can instantly generate a topographical stencil to get you started, that paralysis vanishes. Once that initial mental friction is gone, the human can enter that deep psychological flow state of manual carving much faster.
Because the tedious part is done.
Right. The AI doesn't carve the wood, it clears the intellectual underbrush so the human can get to work.
That makes total sense. It isn't a replacement, it is literally just another blade in the toolkit. But even with an AI assistant instantly generating the perfect pattern, the physical, bodily act of carving wood still requires an immense, almost overwhelming amount of patience.
You can't rush the actual cutting.
You cannot fast forward the chisel, yeah. And as you read deeper into this newsletter, you realize that their patience isn't just stubbornness. It is fueled by a very deep sense of grounding and perspective.
It's a mindset.
It really is. There is a section toward the end of the newsletter that completely shifts the tone. It's a devotion titled, How to Know You Are Blessed. And it was brought into the club by Bill Dominic, the same member who picked up the chicken for the summer social.
Which is great because it highlights how multidimensional these community members are. He is nourishing the club's logistics with the food, but he's also tending to the psychological and emotional nourishment of the group.
Without a doubt. And this devotion he shared lists 6 distinct points of perspective. It is designed to aggressively zoom out your worldview and remind you that our bad days are often a matter of skewed perspective.
Yeah, zooming out is a good way to put it.
For instance, it asks you to consider that if you woke up this morning with more health than illness, you are statistically more blessed than 1 million people who will not survive the week. It points out that if you have never experienced the dangers of battle, the agony of imprisonment, or the pangs of starvation, you are currently better off than 500 million people on the planet.
It really forces the reader to contextualize their minor daily frustrations against the backdrop of global reality.
It really does. It goes further, stating that if you have a roof over your head, clothes on your back, and food in the fridge, you are richer than 75% of the world.
75%.
Yeah. If you have spare change sitting in a dish somewhere in your house, you rank in the top 8% of global wealth.
That's incredible.
And perhaps the most striking point to read inside of a printed publication, it says if you can simply read this devotion, you are more blessed than over 2 billion people in the world who cannot read at all.
That hits hard when you're literally reading it off a page.
Exactly. And the crucial thing is that this club doesn't just read these words and passively nod their heads. They physically act on them. Right alongside this devotion, the newsletter details how members Bill Robinson and Rich DeFranco collected food and money for the Nourish Up food drive at that very same summer social.
Putting words into action.
So what does this all mean? For me, reading that devotion completely changed how I looked at the photos of their carvings scattered throughout the newsletter.
How so?
Well, you look at these whimsical, funny pieces. Someone carves a little hippo. There's an angel mouse, the dachshund wearing a sweater on skis. And remember Mary Atkins carved this fantastic rustic sign that says Mama's Kitchen featuring a big pink pig.
Right. Fun projects.
Yeah, on the surface, if you just glance at them, they're cute, lighthearted objects. But when you realize the deep, profound gratitude and the intense community care that is driving the people holding the knives, those carvings hit totally differently.
They carry more weight.
They do. They're not just cheap novelties. They're tangible expressions of joy from people who actively practice being thankful.
There is a deep mechanical metaphor at play here that ties the entire philosophy of the club together.
Oh, I'd love to hear this.
Wood carving, by its very physical nature, is a subtractive process. You start with a heavy, dense, opaque block of material. To create art, you have to carefully, purposefully remove what isn't needed.
Right, taking away the excess.
Exactly. You chip away the excess wood piece by piece to reveal the beauty, the shape, or the truth that was hiding inside the block all along. That devotion, shared by Bill Dominic, operates on the exact same subtractive principle, but for the human mind.
Oh, wow.
By reading those side points of global perspective, you are actively chipping away your daily anxieties. You are carving off your minor complaints, your localized stresses, and your ego. You remove the excess psychological negativity to reveal the baseline gratitude that is underneath.
That is a beautiful way to look at it.
The focused mindset required to carve a delicate piece of basswood and the mindset required to maintain that level of profound gratitude are fundamentally identical.
You are literally carving away the complaints to find the joy. It takes the exact same kind of slow, deliberate patience.
And that leaves you, the listener, with a really fascinating paradox to consider for your own life and your own habits.
Yeah.
You are likely listening to this on a device that can do exactly what Mike Lennon's column described. With a few taps on your phone, you can digitally generate a perfect photorealistic image of anything you can imagine in about 3 seconds.
True.
We live in an environment of instant, frictionless creation. Yet, in that exact same modern environment, the ultimate luxury and, frankly, the ultimate act of modern rebellion is choosing to spend 146 days slowly, manually, painstakingly revealing a shape from a block of wood with a piece of sharpened steel.
The rebellion of taking your time.
Yes. It proves that for these carvers, and perhaps for the hobbies you choose to pursue in your own life, the true value of art isn't just in having the final product sitting on a shelf. The ultimate value is found in the time spent making it.
Go to charlottewoodcarvers.com/newsletters for the PDF version of this newsletter and all the past newsletters dating back to 1983.